Uh, welcome. Welcome to Screen Fiend. We're going to try this again. Hopefully, they have some things. We have nothing but service. I don't know why people weren't getting their notifications on this site. It's baffling to me. Um, I don't know if they did an update today on this, on the entire live stream thing, but if they do, YouTube should notify people. Don't notify people once it's already in motion because that way people could have prepared to not put their material out, to have it neglected, things of that notion. There's a thought. As once again, we're seeing nothing but problems. So let's move forward. As we can see, as we can see, movies that we want sequels for stop going live all the time. What's wrong with that? And Naperville in the house. If I'm ever out that way, I'm gonna shout you out for sure. Now, what movies have y'all seen that y'all would want sequels for? One movie that I know that I've always wanted to see a sequel for was District 9. District 9 was always something I wanted to see a sequel of. District 9 was, like, to me, one of the most interesting films of its time. When he decided to let the aliens, travel back home. And they got to see us as the savages. Okay, finally some people are coming in now. They're allowing some people in 2 minutes in, but it's better than what was happening beforehand. Norbit, you say? I don't know why they need to be a sequel to Norbit, but that's your pick. That's your pick. Mystery Man. That's funny. You need a sequel to Mystery Man? Well, Man of Steel is a sequel itself. The second part to 8 Mile. Django. Django Unchained sequel? I don't think that one would go nice. To find out what happened. I could see him going to that place, freeing all them slaves that was put in the system. Blue chips. Oh my gosh, you guys have no imagination, huh? That's about as worse as Ride Along too. A Hancock sequel. That's what would be good. Hancock sequel. I want to see a sequel. I don't want a prequel. I would take the sequel. I want to see if he got a rival or somebody that's gonna step up and stop. The sequel to The Golden Child, the sequel to Seven, Two Guns, man. Mom and Dad Save the World Part 2. I don't think that needs a sequel. Howard the Duck, that needed a sequel. And Dr. Detroit, The Wrath of Mom. That's what we need. Yeah. Still kind of cool or something? Oh, okay. Yep. Let me apologize to you guys. I had to take a business call. Well, that wasn't on YouTube. That one. Now, let's get back to some sequels. I would love to see a Howard the Duck sequel. Back when everybody hated on Howard the Duck, they were crazy. I loved Howard the Duck coming up as a kid. That was our movie. Then we have I'll bring you some more in case.
The following would be the terms. He'd give you $5,000, so you'd have $5,000 in your pocket. He would pay all the outstanding water bills, electric bills, gas bills, telephone bills for the premises. He would pay
Fantastic Four and keep it going. The problem is the Fantastic Four is so boring because they're so dumb. Every time they do a Fantastic Four, they go back to the same formula of making it about Doctor Doom all the time. Fantastic Four did other things. They fought other people. They didn't just fight with Doctor Doom. We know that story. Stop telling us about Doctor Doom and how they became the Fantastic Four. We don't need that story. We need the Fantastic Four doing their thing already. We know what everybody can do. We don't need to see them transformed into the Fantastic Four again. Let's just kick drive the whole thing off right now. Hangover 3. We already got the Hangover 3. Hangover 3. Movies you wish were sequels. Right now, District 9 would be the top on my list of movies I wish had a sequel. Some movies you might have enjoyed, but they can't be sequels. Like, there's nowhere to go after that. Like, Like a lot of people used to say the movie Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger when he's going in there slaughtering everything. The reason why you can't make that movie again, we saw everybody fall in love with Rambo. So they came out with Commando. And Sylvester Stallone laughed because Arnold tried to make his own Rambo. That was funny. Now, Training Day 2. Training Day 2 was actually made. It was just under a different name. Training Day 2 was actually made. It was under a different name. You didn't know that, did you? The Training Day 2 movie was made, and you guys never knew it. Never even caught on to the fact that the sequel was actually made. Ethan Hawke played in the film. Lawrence Fishburne was the villain, and the story was Ethan Hawke's character eventually did not want to take the role that was provided to him after the death of Lonzo. He didn't want that life. So he got a transfer out to work as a small local sheriff in this town. Okay, his wife ended up leaving him. He started drinking mostly, changed his life around, and just wanted to live in a small, secluded town. The wife didn't want that. She wanted him to expire and go for higher heights. So it put a strain on their relationship. They divorced. And the tough guy he used to be, he was just a shell of himself, hiding out in this small sheriff station where they had one of the biggest drug dealing criminals coming into their possession when Lawrence Fishburne character comes into the prison. Once that happened, a bunch of guys were coming to kill him, a bunch of dirty police officers, and didn't realize Ethan Hawke's character was actually high-trained narcotic agent and was a very resilient police officer as they shielded and stayed off and fought off the police who were trying to come in there and kill the suspect, who was Lawrence Fishburne. Very good movie. But that was the sequel to Training Day. And you guys did not even know it. Didn't pay attention to the movie, really? And did not notice that that was the sequel to Training Day. Why did they kill off Denzel's character? Lonzo. There was only one way Lonzo's character could have went. And having him getting killed by the Russian mob was probably the best way out for his character. His character was very violent, very aggressive, abuse of force, all of it. He was every bit of just like the criminals. So his end, his karma, wind up being just as violent as what he administered to other people. So karma came and got him the same way he used that to become a very effective police officer. If that makes any sense to you. Did John Leguizamo play in that movie? I believe so. I believe he was in that movie. I think he died, but yeah, he was in the movie. He was a prisoner in there too. The girl from The Sopranos was in the movie. But that was the sequel to Training Day. And the whole script. And you guys did not catch it. Yeah, well, they took their own time doing things. So once they started doing things, then that was that. Yep, Assault on Precinct 13, I believe. That was the sequel to Training Day. They couldn't think of a better name, so they just called it Assault on Precinct 13. Yeah, so rather make it a sequel. It ended up being a regular movie using the same character, Ethan Hawke, playing a different character's name with the same storyline, basically connecting from the script of what was going to be Training Day 2. Well, the studio decided to hold on to that title name in case they find some bigger actors to put in that role to bring the film out. But at that time, Lawrence Fishburne was a very prominent actor. You know? Very prominent. And not only was he prominent, he was very effective. Yes, a 1970 movie that came before it called Assault on Precinct 13. But it was also being used as the title for Training Day 2, the script. I already know what the movie was. I know they just said, look, let's just stick with the original name, throw it back out there. It was Remake City. That's when all the remakes was flying out. During that year, it was a whole bunch of remakes, buddy. The Hills Have Eyes. You saw all remakes flying out. Nobody was doing nothing original back then. I'm like, man, every movie come out as a remake. Studios was in a panic because they were losing money. New Jack City 2 almost happened. Mario Van Peebles was still talking about doing that film. I've actually read the script to New Jack City 2. You want to know how the script goes? I can tell you right now. It's pretty simple. Well, Denzel thought that the reason why Denzel agreed that the character should die No, they said if they wanted to do a sequel, if it was a hit, you know, they wanted to keep it going. Denzel really don't like to do sequels. Plus, he didn't see anywhere else the character could go. So to have that character die at the end would make sense than to have that character continue on. So I understood what he was saying. Now, here's the script for New Jack City 2. It was supposed to happen 20 years after New Jack City. 20 years later. That was the name, the title of the script, and the way it was written. 20 years later, Nino has a son with the female that, the one that Ice-T smacked in the face, the one that ain't nothing safe about you, even my woman. She had a child by Nino. Nino's son is the new Jack Hustler of the hood. He's the new big kingpin of the hood. He knows that he's comes from Nino Brown and the legacy of his father and all this stuff. Nino Brown isn't dead. Nino Brown is paralyzed from the waist down after his fall. And they want Nino to go and talk to his son. And Nino and his son has no connection to each other. He thinks his dad is gone soft. And they told him, try to save your son's life. Nino changed his life around. Wesley Snipes was going to replay the role of Nino Brown. And Nino Brown, what they realized at the time, that Nino Brown was very intelligent. He had a whole shelf full of books that he had read even back during that era. And he started speaking philosophy. And then they're going to take him down. And it was like, look, we don't want to have to kill your son. Ice-T and all them, like, we don't want to have to kill your son. You get to save your son. So, for the first time in ever, since he hadn't been back to Harlem since then, he wanted his legacy to still be Nino Brown. And them seeing Nino in a wheelchair just would, you know, throw them off about his legacy. He wanted to be still king. So he reached out to his son. They have a big thing where he's trying to meet his son and reach him and telling him that, look, you know, you're going to die and they're going to take your place. You know, the same thing. It wasn't the same type of movie. Of course, it has some action, but it was more hard and more educational. It's more like New Jack City meets South Central. Jimmy, killing is wrong. Jimmy, this is wrong. Pure Luck with Danny Glover. Yeah, I would say that. Yes, Nino Brown has survived. He was shot and paralyzed from the waist down. He was not incarcerated. He was somewhere in New Hampshire, somewhere outer state New York, living in a welfare assisted community. And all he did was stay to himself and read. He had a whole bunch of books. That's how they written up the character. And he didn't want to go and read and connect with his son. Because he was never informed that he had a son. He left everything. He left everything he left Harlem, left everything. But once he found out he had a son and his legacy was still going on, he was like, I just don't want to go back into that. I don't want them to see me this way. Like my son and everybody, I don't want them to see me this way. So they had no connection. But he was aware that he had a son later on, so. Well, at least they made him aware of it. They got everybody. They had, he was a retired police officer. What's his name was? Gosh, I can't think of his name. Judd Nelson. He was coming to reprise his role, but he was a retired, he retired and went into just private investigations. And he was basically in his last year to retirement being a private investigator. And Ice-T was still with the police force. Still knocking down crimes and everything else. So he stayed. Judd Nelson ended up becoming a private investigator. Okay, well, Brooklyn. Whichever one. Anyway, that was the script Mario Van Peebles originally wrote. It had a lot of heart in it, but like I said, it was New Jack City mixed in with South Central. And I don't know if the world was ready to see Nino Brown like that. Not gonna ignore you, B. The sequel to Coming to America. Oh, okay, you done.
Too much because I'm supposed to watch that because Bob had given me cakes.
Oh, okay. All right, well, you ate it now. You ate good. You ate pretty good.
Yeah, but thank you. But I didn't have no.
Well, no, because you already had it insurance. So you gotta drink some water. Well, if they got it in here, then I'll give it to you. But you can have some juice later on. But right now, you already had it, sure, and we're gonna give you some water. I've done that video 1,000 times, B. Told people why I love movies. Told you my father, my mother, everybody loves film. I grew up on films. To me, it was always exciting to see life captured on camera. I just thought that was the most extraordinary thing I've ever seen in my life. That something can record actual life and put it on film.
That's why we make Angel Soft Tomato with more of the value you already love.
I'm Attorney Howard Aiken, and you're watching the courthouse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't see no muffin in there.
kidding. No, Bob gave me 2 of them little muffins.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, that's probably
Gave me
done.
my coffee, and then I didn't
Yeah.
get none.
Relatives tend to treat other relatives honestly when it comes to financial. Yes, I think so. Yeah. It also depends on that particular relative reputation.
Uh-oh, he won his case? Well, that already had a sequel, and it shouldn't have had none. Matrix is a movie that shouldn't have had a sequel. Should have stayed just the way it was, but they had to get paid, so can't blame them for that. They all got paid on the second and the third one. Nobody made any money off the first one. That's what's funny. Nobody got their money. Like, Sylvester Stallone didn't make a dime for Rocky. It won an Oscar. It had the best picture. He barely had any money. And everybody applauded him. He wrote the script, he produced it, but he barely saw any money from it at first. Once he decided to make it a franchise and made the sequels, then he got paid. Oh, Rocky 2, he got paid. Ooh, he got paid. So sometimes they gotta make those sequels just to get the money. Another movies that shouldn't have existed, Back to the Future 2 and 3. I liked them. I thought they were okay. They were funny to look at. We had the characters back, but really, Back to the Future was perfect. You know, and now you kind of make these sequels and they kind of take away from what Back to the Future was. That's like them making a sequel to the Usual Suspects. Usual Suspects Part 2. The Hunt for Kaiser Soze. Oh yeah, we already said District 9. That's number 1 on the list. Well, that's a true story, and no, nothing really interesting happened during the sequel's time. iRobot. Thanks, B. I appreciate it. iRobot. A sequel to that. That would have been okay. I mean, the first one wasn't that bad. I just wanted Shia LaBeouf's character to die. The sequel I really wanted to see is Constantine. Constantine sequel. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine that? Constantine sequel. I loved it because Shia LaBeouf died. So he was good in the film, but he becomes irritable over time. So he wouldn't have been in the sequel. I like that film.
No, I don't. He's a con artist. He's a liar.
Wanted. That movie is kind of a one-off too. You know, it's like everybody's dead, so it don't even make sense. But it was a good movie. I love Morgan Freeman. Now everybody's name has come up on the list. Now I say we kill this motherfucker and get back to the way we used to do things. You know what? Your number came up. You know what? Your number came up. And you, and you, and you. I think they did Double Impact too, if I'm not mistaken. Or at least they tried. Jeez. Double Impact did not need a sequel. They tried to do Bloodsport 2, a sequel to Bloodsport, a whole new Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and they told him, "You're too old," and he just freaked out, mad at Hollywood. They didn't want to do it. Like, dude, you're too old. Ah! Start punching stuff. He spazzes out. Double Dragons. No. A sequel to The Watchmen. Yeah, I would that one I would love to see the prequel to The Watchmen. That's what it needs to be. The prequel. Because you can't have the Watchmen without Horshack. You know, that's what needed to go down. You gotta have a comedian in it. You gotta have everybody in there.
Palsy.
Oh, the one over there, yeah.
That the case was serious because they were trying to get some paper release from the hospital. The hospital's like kind of not want to release the information. If they
Little Shops of Horror.
They have done this to a lot of people. I'm not the only victim.
We've recovered $1 billion for children with seizures or cerebral
Little Shops of Horror too.
Some answers. I'm Attorney Jack Bean.
Yep, Harry and the Hendersons Part 2.
I need my Social Security disability benefits.
The guy changed his mind and decided to go back.
I'm Attorney Larry
Who that?
Look, I know that
Oh, the guy on
your disability benefits approved.
on the phone here talking about the movies. Gremlins had a sequel. Senseless? No, that was senseless. That whole
I didn't
movie.
have to go anywhere. Thanks to Larry, now I'm getting my benefits.
I know what to do to get your benefits approved. Call me. It's just that easy.
Call 312-600-6000.
Make tomorrow awesome with Xfinity.